Now that we understand what server-sent events are, let's start building Quart feed. Before we get to the live feed though, we need the pieces underneath it. Users who can register and log in, follow each other, and write posts. So the plan for this chapter is to build those layers one at a time and only wire up the real-time feed once the data is there to push. The great news is that we don't start from a blank folder. In the previous chapter, we built a Quart Postgres counter, and I told you it would double as a boilerplate for any database-driven Quart project. This is where that pays off. Quart feed begins as a copy of that counter app. So make a copy of your counter application folder and rename the copy to Quart feed app. If any cache folders came along for the ride, like a PyCache folder or a stray migrations versions file, go ahead and delete them so we start clean. The first thing we'll do is rename the project. Open the PyProject TOML file and change the project name to Quart feed app. Our counter had a single blueprint called counter. Quart feed's first module is the user, so let's rename the counter folder to user. This is where registration, login, and profiles will live. Now open the models file inside that new user folder. The counter table doesn't make sense anymore, so we'll replace it with our first real model, the user table. Just like our counter model, we import table, column, and our application-wide metadata object. This time we also import string since our columns hold text instead of numbers. We define a table named user with the usual auto-incrementing ID as the primary key. Then comes the username, a string capped at 15 characters. Notice the two extra properties on username. We set index to true because we'll constantly look users up by their username, and an index makes those lookups fast. We also set unique to true because no two people can share a username. The last column is password, a string of length 128. That length isn't arbitrary. We're going to store a hashed password, never the real one, and the hashing algorithm we'll use always produces a hash exactly that long. Next, let's give this module a minimal controller so the app boots. Open user views and replace the counter view with a placeholder registration route. We create a blueprint called user_app and a single register route that, for now, just returns a bit of HTML. We're only proving the wiring works. We'll build the real form in the next lesson. Now we point the application factory at the new blueprint. Open the application file and update the import and the registration to use user_app. There's one more rename to do, this time in our container config, since we renamed the project folder. Open the Docker file and change every counter app reference to Quart feed app. And let's do the same with the Docker compose file, where the volume mounts our code into the container. Now let's deal with migrations. Because this is a brand new application with a brand new database, open the migration CMV file and update the model import so Alembic tracks the user table instead of the old counter table. Remember the rule from the counter app. Every time we add a new model, we import it here so Alembic can see it when it generates migrations. We'll be back in this file a few times this chapter. We're ready to create the database. First, bring up just the Postgres container so we have something to migrate against. Then, build the web image so our renamed project and its packages are installed inside it. Now we generate our first migration. Just like the counter app, we run Alembic inside the web container. Alembic compared our metadata against the empty database and generated a migration that creates the user table and the index on username. Let's apply it, then take a quick look at the file it created. Our database now has a user table ready to hold accounts. In the next lesson, we'll let people actually create one.